Donald Trump now saying that he will vote against a Florida measure to expand abortion rights a day after signaling that he might support that same measure. Joining me now is former Trump White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony, thank you so much for being with us. Despite saying a six-week abortion ban is too early, just yesterday Trump said that, he's now saying that he'll vote to keep one in place in Florida, which of course is his home state where he votes. And now he's waffling on whether he would sign a national abortion ban. So what do you think that says about his mindset, his approach to this issue right now?
Well, he's done a very good job of the last 9 years of saying two contradictory things at the exact same time and giving enough food for everybody at the table. You know, he did that with the Charlottesville case. He said there were very fine people on both sides. Then a day later, he had denounced it. And this way, the people that are gaslit by Donald Trump, they can hang on to those sentences and those words. And so that's what he's doing right now. He's shotgunning out statements and words. The conservatives in his party are calling him up saying, you can't do that. Many of these pro-life conservatives will not come out to vote for you. You have a low ceiling at 47.5%. You've never been able to punch through that. You need every one of these votes. And so he equivocates and goes back out there and says what he said today. But he's in trouble. He knows it. And the interesting conversation you guys are having before the break, it's going to be very hard for women, even conservative women, to give up their reproductive freedoms to J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. And he knows that. He's got very good political instincts. And so this is a vexing problem for him right now.
And in terms of how he approaches a variety of issues, you know, he's been going after Kamala Harris as a flip-flopper. Do you think what he's doing here is going to get him in some trouble for doing basically the same thing?
So it should get him into trouble, but it never does. This is one of the more fascinating things about former President Trump. He's able to get away with these things, and people let him off the hook. I think it's the rapidity of the lies. He told one lie every 90 seconds during the debate with Joe Biden in June, President Biden. He told 30,450 lies, according to the Washington Post, during his term as president. And so the perpetual lying gives him a lot of space to say a lot of different things, and people don't necessarily take that seriously. On the flip side, you saw a very serious candidate running for president last night, as interviewed by Donna Bash. And what you saw there was an incredibly concise statements of policy that people take seriously.
In terms of the landscape and the battleground states, there were some really interesting new numbers in a Fox News poll of the Sun Belt: Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, those swing states. They found Harris and Trump neck and neck in all four of those states, all within the margin of error. It is not the race that Trump was expecting, not the race that he had a couple months ago. How much do you think that that's frustrating him in his campaign?
I think it's frustrating him, but if I was on the Harris side, though, I would tell them that he underpolls. And so he may be up a little bit more than that, and they've got to dig in and work very hard in those areas of the country. Now, she could have a breakout moment with more interviews. She could have a breakout moment in the September 10th debate. But if I'm on her campaign, I'm recommending she pushes very, very hard in those areas, because she could put him on the run if she opens up an ideas lead and a policy lead, because he's not really that substantive at this point in his political career.
And speaking of that interview that our colleague Dana Bash did with Kamala Harris yesterday, Trump has responded. He called Harris low energy, but he said not too much about the substance of the interview. What does that tell you?
He's pressured by the content of her policy. He's sitting there. He said very derogatory things about her, which I won't mention on this air, but he's looking at her saying, wait a minute, the things I'm saying about her doesn't match up with the content that she's providing right now. And he's worried about it. And so he's trying to figure out if he can outmuscle her or bully her without being substantial. And I think he's going to be surprised by her. I think she's consistently outperforming, and she's consistently exceeding expectations of her. And she's going to be a very formidable candidate come November.
Yeah, and he's reposted some pretty nasty things about her as well. Anthony Scaramucci, thanks.
And that's shameful, by the way. I mean, that is disgusting stuff. I hope people pay attention to that. It's very shameful what he's posting.
Yeah. Well, Anthony Scaramucci, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I did mention at the top of the show, Labor Day is the traditional kickoff to the campaign season. I don't know that that applies anymore. Frankly, I'm not sure it's applied for the last few cycles, but we say it. I mean, what is left to do in 64 days?
Oh, the debate is everything.
Everything.
Everything. When the voter sees side by side the two candidates and they listen to what they say, not just in the answers, it's the body language. Is there contempt? Does someone fold their arms? Do they look at the individual when they're speaking? Do they seem presidential in their approach? For Trump, can he keep quiet? Can he actually listen to a response, or does he have to respond to everything? For Harris, does she seem open-minded? Does she seem willing to take in information, not just project? Each one of them has different goals for that debate, but each one in the end has to prove that they're ready, not just for that moment, but voters are thinking, who do I want to represent me 2 years from now, 3 or 4 years from now? That's why Biden had to step aside when he did, and that's the challenge for Harris right now. You know, she did not do well in her presidential debate. She did not shine. And now she has to prove she has the capability to do it. And Trump has to prove that he doesn't treat her rudely, obnoxiously, because he lost a lot of female voters in 2020 who would have voted for him over policy, but would not vote for him because of his persona.
You know, one of the things I've never understood about Donald Trump is they really push this notion, oh, he doesn't do debate prep, he doesn't do tradition. He does debate prep. We know he does debate prep. He may not do formal mock debates in a room, or maybe he does and we just don't know. But why do you think it's so important for him to project this image of I don't care that much?
Because in 2020, he was told by Governor Chris Christie, chill out. You don't have to go for the jugular. Let President Biden speak, or at the time, Vice President Biden, and he'll hurt himself. And Trump couldn't do it. He couldn't lay off. He just had to go. And if I was advising the campaign right now, which I do not, I'd say to him that silence, in some cases, is the best language. That's silence. Because he has questions that he can ask that she can't answer. Why did inflation get so high under your administration? What exactly are you going to do? If your policies caused it, what can you do to solve it? And most importantly, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? It's not my question. That was Ronald Reagan's question. If he asked that question plainly, he will be successful. I don't believe he has the ability to do so.
Frank, well, it's nice to see you this morning. Thank you very much.
Central race, which is 65 days away, Election Day is. I want you to listen to how Vice President Harris answered my question this week about a key issue in the campaign.
In 2019, you said, quote, there is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made